don't you just give the audience a little preview to the benefits fund and the group that you support?
Absolutely. We cover here in New York about 440,000 member lives. We're a large provider of medical and dental benefits, plus about 26 other benefits, tuition reimbursement, training and education, child care services, and we self-manage a $10 billion pension fund.
How about your organization at Omnicom?
So I am the Chief Information Officer for Diversified Agency Services, which is about 50% of Omnicom. Omnicom is a public company based here in New York. Pretty much we're in the marketing services and advertising group. My group specifically focuses on kind of everything we used to call below the line. So, PR, marketing services, field marketing, as opposed to my colleagues who are in the traditional advertising space, although that we don't use those terms anymore. BBDO, DDB, TBWA, who offer a plethora of services under the Omnicom umbrella.
So tell us at Omnicom a little bit about how you're leveraging communication solutions to support that group of folks.
So we're actually in the midst of a major transformation. We are taking about, I'd say 100 plus, let's keep it at that, disparate, unique entrepreneurial agencies and creating a unified technology strategy. And that unified strategy goes to a very new and exciting way that we can service our clients so that we can deliver information quicker, faster, more efficient, but also in real time. Kind of the world has changed. What used to be a traditional model for advertising and marketing has turned into things like instant on and real-time information. So you need platforms, technologies, solutions in order to deliver not only for your clients, but to deliver for your organization as a whole. And we're on the cusp of doing pretty amazing and different things today than we were yesterday.
Got it. How about for you, Neil? What are you using communication technologies for to support your constituents?
Well, we see a big change in the way our contact centers are being handled. Typically, in the business that I'm in, which is almost equivalent to the insurance industry, contacting your membership has been pretty difficult. We have a lot of regulations with HIPAA and other type of regulatory bodies. And so opening up that communication channel's got a lot of difficulties, namely security, compliance, and what kind of channel should we open first? And what we're realizing right now is mobility is really where it's at. And our membership is really demanding that we be able to provide them membership information on smartphones and tablets. So we have a big focus on that. Fortunately, we thought ahead when we procured the Avaya solution. So we have what we call an open architecture, an open framework. So as these type of delivery mechanisms of information are needed to communicate with our customers and our members, the framework is there. So instead of re-architecting, we're opening up and we're integrating. And that's been, I think, one of the biggest keys to us being so successful.
You've both mentioned architecture in what you're doing for your technologies. At Omnicom, you have a global, very distributed environment. How does that impact the architecture and the choices you make?
Well, so we're looking at a global organization in about 84 different countries based here in America with about 65,000 plus employees. And it's interesting because I may be one of the only CIOs that probably looks at ROI in terms of my partnerships, as opposed to how much am I, spending and what will my return be on those investments. I look at who am I partnering with and will they help me get to where I need to be. So if I take a look at companies like CTI and Avaya, two strong organizations that are very much helping me achieve my goals. So, one of the challenges that we face is that we need an organization that can support us globally. Avaya is there to do that. We need an organization that can work with us to help us deal with our multiple types of platforms, as opposed to saying, if you have this, you must use that. So we find that our partnerships and our relationships are what's going to not only drive the success of this project, but ultimately what's going to drive the success for where we need to go as an organization.
I know when we were talking backstage, you mentioned virtualization is key for the benefits fund. How have you implemented that, and what impact is that having on your implementation?
Sure, that's a really great point. A lot of people talk about virtualization, and it's a hot topic now, and cloud computing and that initiative, but we've been on that roadmap for about 5 years. At this point, we're 95% virtual. That's in excess of 1,000 servers. And one of the requirements I had with CTI as our vendor and Avaya is we were going to push the envelope on what you were going to virtualize. A lot of times you run into roadblocks that you can't virtualize for various reasons, but we really stuck it to Avaya and said, look, we're going to go and virtualize as much as we can. And whatever the roadmap is in the future, we're going to continue doing that. So when we deployed last year, we were heavily virtualized at that point. Systems like Avaya IQ, AES, and ACE, we want to virtualize those right away. And now with the new gateway controllers, such as the S9000, we're going to move to virtualization in our upgrade. So virtualization gives us agility, flexibility, resiliency, and high availability, and we're no longer dependent on hardware, which after a period of 3 to 5 years needs to get replaced.
Let's talk about roadmap. You've got a plan for today, but you're thinking about tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So what does the technology roadmap look like for Omnicom?
You know, I would say to you, I could give you tomorrow or maybe till the end of the year,
okay.
Because I think the world is changing exponentially faster than it used to. So I will tell you, you know, I agree with everything you're saying, particularly around the mobility. You know, if you look at our space, I think the key differentiator is what the rest of the world is going through, which is nothing is analog anymore. Nothing is analog versus digital. Everything is digital. Everything we're doing and what our clients are asking us to do is around digital. So in order to prepare for the future, you need tools that are going to deal on the mobility platform, going to be able to deliver information consistently and also in real time. So if you can take a look at kind of what the future looks like, I would say focus tremendously on how you are going to be a disruptor to deliver information in a real-time fashion and in multiple different types of ways. I think the days of analog, do it this way, are long over. I think there has to be a view of many tools, many types of devices, many types of infrastructure, but ultimately, what is going to drive information out? So the strategy is to deliver a fully holistic digital solution, sort of remove that analog versus digital. You know, over the last couple of years, we were looking at a blur. What was analog, what was digital? There's no more analog. Everything is digital. So if you can deliver information, content, and real-time scoop to your clients, you know, that's what our roadmap is going to empower our agencies to do.
Fair enough. How about you, Neil? What does the roadmap look like for technology?
Very similar thought to what you were saying. For us, we really look at what is the disruptive nature of technology today. And by disruptive, game-changing. IP services, absolutely. Analog is dead. IP services is here. Mobility is here. Exactly how you execute that on beyond the 1 to 2 year roadmap, it gets vague because we don't know the hot technology 2 to 3 years down the road. But what we do know is what type of open architecture and service-oriented architecture can we develop and build and scale our applications on. And what I had to do when I was making the decision to procure this telecommunications solution was get a good idea of that roadmap. Was Avaya communicating the roadmap? Was CTI able to execute the roadmap for me to deliver beyond 1 to 2 years? And I feel very strongly that that's been the case. And even attending here and hearing some of the discussions about the future roadmap, I'm very, very happy I made that decision.
I mean, I would just, you know, I would also add that we don't, you know, the book hasn't been written.
Right.
So I think it's a lot of information is still yet to come. I think the model of evolution within technology has moved from years to months. I'm not sure it will ever get to days, but it is certainly going to continue to get faster. So again, that's why I go back to who am I partnering with them? Who am I partnering with? Why am I partnering with them? And do I see that their vision of today and tomorrow will propel them into the future?
Fair enough. How has that changed the contact center service you deliver? Because people have multiple ways they like to communicate, right? Some people mobile, some online, some want to still call you. How do you manage the contact center with that as the face of the customer?
Well, you have multiple contact and touch points with the customer today. 5 to 10 years ago, CRM, mobility, instant communication, these weren't discussion topics that we've had. But today they are. They're at the forefront. And what we realize is that you need to ingest the questions and what the membership wants, the information they want to get out quickly. So your handle times are shortened. You have to multitask in the contact center. But most importantly, you've got to get consistent, accurate information. Now you have many points of where you're contacting the customer, so solidifying and getting that information at the back end is really critical, but making that information come out to that customer consistently and accurately no matter what the contact is, that's the focus and challenge that we have today, and that's the delivery we're really focusing on.
So you get stopped in the hall and someone says, hey, Jason, give me some advice on what might be some things I should think about as I'm looking at my configuration, the tools I'm using, the communications technologies I'm deploying. What advice would you give them?
You know, not to sound overly repetitive, but first of all, make sure you pick your partners wisely. Make sure that the sort of manufacturer and then sort of the service provider are kind of understand your strategy and understand what you're trying to accomplish. Interestingly enough, what Neil is saying is spot on. If you can get to the base foundation of what you want to deliver, see, for a while we were all stuck in the perspective of devices. How are we going to do it? Now things like BYOD and other components have changed the game. So now you have to be willing to accept, you know, to your point, handsets, iPads, tablets, you know, other types of devices. You need to be prepared for the base foundation. Too much time and effort, in my opinion, is spent on the accoutrements. What device are we getting? How are we getting it? We should do this. If you don't have a strong foundation, you're not going to be able to deliver information. So my advice would be take a look at who you're working with, why you're working with them, and can they deliver to you the rapidly changing environment that is going to be required. You know, there is something about the way Avaya in particular and something the way we have interacted with CTI from the perspective of they instantaneously understand, they then execute based on what we're trying to accomplish. And I credit a lot of that success to the relationships and the sort of hand-holding that we have with each other. So I would say pick your partner, pick your foundation, and build on that, and then you can adjust to almost anything that's going to come in front of you.
How about you, Neil? Any advice you'd give someone that stops you in the hall and asks you what's next?
Well, I think what's next for us is taking a look at the service-oriented architecture. When you look at AES and ACE, and you look at the ability to bring in different communications points from exchange into mobility, into CRM, really take a look at how this is going to be open and what the future roadmap is going to be. Where we're going to go exactly in 3 to 5 years, I can't really tell you, but I could tell you that the framework I'm building now will be the framework that I use in the next 3 to 5 years. And that's real important when you take a look at the life cycle of a telecommunication system. It's pretty long in some cases. Traditionally, we've had systems 10 plus years. Now we're looking at systems, you know, we're trying to plan, like we were both talking, beyond a year is hard, but that core infrastructure is going to be there, in my case, for 3 to 5 years. And I think focusing on how you take all these technologies and converge them in a system that is repeatable, standardized, and validated, that's the key.
We have some time. Would you guys mind if we had the audience shoot a few questions at you? Go easy on them. I kind of sprung this on them. Are there any questions from the audience that you'd like them to answer? No questions. Go ahead. What is the success story? So what about the technology has made you a successful business?
Well, I could tell you we undertook the upgrade of the Avaya system for two real reasons. One, we had significant ROI upgrading to a newer technology with IP services and such, like a lot of folks do. The other is we wanted to be able to have an architecture that opened up to a lot of technologies. In our case, we handle about 4,000 calls an hour, about 4 million inbound calls coming into our center. We had to replace the entire Avaya system with the Aura 6.0 platform. Gateways, controllers, CM system, witness, via voice portal. We replaced all those components, added ACE and AES. And I got to say the big key to that was when we made that cut over Monday morning, we did not lose a single phone call. And what a lot of that has to be said is the fact that with CTI, not only understanding the business, understanding my members, but superb project management, superb testing, and support navigating all of the complications that goes with getting all of this cut over in one weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you that when I started as CIO of DOS in 1999, we still had 100+ organizations and absolutely positively no standards whatsoever. We had different types of hardware architecture, networking architecture, telco. We had everything. So success to me is today in an organization of still 100+, but probably 200+ companies around the world. We now have firm standards, and we could probably say that about 75% of our organization has standardized on the platform. CTI has helped us deliver that across the globe, and we have a lot of success around kind of that opportunity right there. So success for us was standardization.
I'd like to just add one point. What we're looking to do right now is we're introducing SIP, and we're going to do it secure on the outside and on the inside. We're going to fail over those 4 million calls in seconds to our redundant data center. So through virtualization and cloud, I can bring up my data center in about 13 minutes. My phone system is going to be instant on and available from the IVR point of view and, of course, the call center, contact center. So folks are going to be able to run that call center even if they're working at home. That agent's going to be able to get that call, go through a virtual desktop session, see the virtual applications that we have up, and the 1X communicator. And they're going to be able to handle calls in a business continuity and DR perspective. And that we could not have done without this technology.
I don't know if I'm allowed to speak, but I would say success to Omnicom is over the last 10 years, before they had this consolidated data strategy of 4 centers around the world, serving their hundreds of organizations, making the investment in my platform that today is virtually completely reusable to later on this data strategy, which was developed separate from the voice strategy. To me, that's a massive success.
Well, that is a massive success, but it goes to the point I made earlier about creating a foundation. Doing this 10 years ago allowed us the foundation to build on what we're trying to accomplish today, especially in an environment where when we used to buy companies, we used to say, listen, make your margins, and we're not going to tell you what to buy, how to buy it, what to do, when to do it. Your solutions, well, they had me in the background saying, this is where I want you to go. The Avaya solution, powered by CTI, helped us get there. And it helped us get there because you had an offering that they wanted, as opposed to me telling. I've learned the more I tell these folks what to do, the less they want to do it. So again, it goes to partnerships. And the partnership here was you sold yourself. If you didn't have a service model that could take care of these agencies, if you didn't have a product that could support our needs, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So while this is where, you made an interesting comment when you introduced me, the fact where I'll be a disruptor is more on partnerships and solutions as opposed to the trinkets and the gadgets. Because trinkets and gadgets are replaceable. Partnership and strong leadership from our partners allows me to do my job better and ultimately allows you to do your job better.